Let's build the Pacers rotation for the coming season. How does their air quotes gap year influence who should and shouldn't play? How much should play? Any surprises? How does this all work for the Pacers this year? Tyler Smith's going to join us to break it all down today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, let's build the Pacers rotation player by player, minute by minute. Who should lead the team in playing time this year? It's not who you think, for different reasons that I think Tyler Smith and I will get into today from Indy Sports Legends, covering IU, covering the Pacers, and has for so many years, because the obvious answers aren't the right answers when it comes to how the Pacers should do this. They have a lot to prioritize. They have a lot to consider, and every single year there's a surprise. Who should start at the 2? Who should start at the 5? How should the Pacers and Rick Carlisle put this all together? We discuss every position one by one and get into who we think should start and why with Tyler Smith. You know what? Let's just get right to it. Last year, the Pacers ran it back. Building their rotation was fairly easy. This year, they lose Myles Turner. Tyrese Haliburton is out. They have new centers. They have a shooting guard moving to point guard. There's some clarity. There's also some not. A lot of people want to see Johnny Furphy out there. Let's build the Pacers rotation and see what makes sense, how they can get the right amount of minutes for the right guys heading into a season of something, of trying to win, but also like development's maybe a little bit more important than they would hope in a year after they made the finals. I don't want to do this by myself because my ideas only carry so much weight. Tyler Smith, the best there is here. He nailed predictions for the Bucks series the last time he was on here as the Pacers rolled through the Bucks in 5 games. Tyler, how are you? How are you enjoying the offseason to the extent that that's even a thing?
It's going quick. I mean, we got media day in 2 months, so but I'm enjoying
Don't say
it.
that.
It's kind of crazy to think about.
It's so fast. It's like it feels like it's shorter every year. Maybe that's just because the Pacers are playing for longer, obviously. But like, man, for a while there, I was like, I have like 4 months now. What do I get a stretch, get a new hobby? And I'm like, wait, it's already almost August. What's going on? How did this happen?
It's because we're getting old and time just kind of,
That too. Like, I feel like in my head, free agency just started. And like the team, they're like Taylor and Peter, for those of you listening, we're recording this on last Thursday. Taylor and Peter just got signed. Like, they're still building their team. Okay. Let's talk about the rotation. And the thing that I found interesting, Chad Buchanan just went on setting the pace. He was talking about camp battles. This team 2 years ago, Jarris Walker's rookie year, the year they had kind of like a blank slate of expectations before making the conference finals. They had all these camp battles, and he kept talking about earning it with minutes, and guys would have to do this or that to play. And then they clearly slanted towards their better players that year, and it worked. They were a good team. But that was the last time that there was like actual question marks about who would play, which is really interesting going into this year because there is a lot of change because Myles is gone, because Tyrese is hurt. And yet I still felt like it was pretty easy to kind of slot in 4 of the starters and all 10 of what I would expect the rotation players to be. Did you have that same experience, or was there any like 10, 11, 12th guy? I don't know who it's going to be.
I think the 4 that you mentioned, I think the 5 is wide open.
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't be as wide open if the guys weren't coming back from Achilles injuries, so there's a little uncertainty there. But I do think even with your typical 10 or so, there are a couple guys that they would like to see in the rotation. So
Agreed.
Trying to balance that, I think it's a year to have one eye on competing, one eye on development, and kind of throwing some stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks and seeing who steps up. There's a lot of guys that have a lot to prove, which is a good thing. But also the front office and coaching staff, they're going to need to see what guys are part of the future. And there's going to be plenty of opportunity. Whoever starts in that first 10 or 11, whatever it is, there's going to be some guys that have a chance throughout the year to prove themselves. But yeah, it's my initial crack at the rotation is, a basic 10 who I think will start, but I think there's going to be opportunity for a lot of guys.
We'll certainly get to those guys. The interesting part of what you said about one eye on both development and winning is like when I was building this, I was like, do I tilt towards the younger guys a little bit more than I would have expected? And then when I was done, I was like, their advantage is that most of their young guys are at least already good, right? They're not like throwing some. I guess you could count Furphy as this because it's his second year and he played 30 games of garbage time and 20 real games last year. Like, he's inexperienced, but most of the young guys they would want to put on the floor to actually develop are like good, right? So like, it's not like that is so much detracting. Maybe if Furphy's not as good as anybody thinks, maybe he would be in this group, but it's not like that's detracting from their winning goal. So it actually became easier than I thought to do that. All right, I'll start with this. So three Sharpie starters, no doubt, undeniable. Andrew Nembhard starting. Pascal Siakam is starting. Aaron Nesmith is starting. Then we had Buchanan earlier this week talking about competition at the 2, which certainly was an eyebrow raiser for some, I think, and the 5, which I think everybody kind of expected. I penned in Bennedict Mathurin at the 2 and Isaiah Jackson at the 5. Did you do the same? And then we'll go through the minutes load for all these guys.
Yeah, absolutely the same. And I think recently Isaiah said he's about 90%. He's still got 3 months. So assuming he's healthy, maybe they want to kind of slow play it a little bit, depending on how he's feeling. He's healthy. He probably gets the first crack. He's who I'm predicting to get the most minutes at the 5 for the season. And then for the 2 spot, I would say, to me, it's a no-brainer. I'm not sure why we're kind of doing this little dance with Mathurin. And, well, there's competition. I don't know if they think that motivates him, but to me, he doesn't need much motivation coming into a contract year. But, I would definitely assume that Mathurin will be the guy at the 2.
So I would too, because of that development part and like figuring out his value either to the Pacers or on the open market is like a critical thing for the Pacers this year. He should start to me. I thought he should have kept a starting spot last year when Nesmith came back, and that was wrong. Nesmith was much better than him the rest of the season. But like, he played well as a starter, albeit with Tyrese Haliburton playing. So here's why it could not happen. I don't think this will happen, but let me put the pin in this. Celtics Pacers 2024 Eastern Conference Finals. Tyrese Haliburton goes down with an injury, and who is the 5th starter for the rest of that series? It was Ben Shepherd, and it was Nembhard, Shepherd, Nesmith, Siakam, Turner the rest of the way. And like, they actually scored pretty well with that group, but I think that because of what you said, this is the first time that you get to this point, which is interesting because Ben Shepherd is young, but he's actually older than Mathurin, I believe. Like, the eye on development and winning thing here means to me it has to be Mathurin. Not even just because even if you think Ben Shepherd makes the starting 5 the best, which I don't, like, you have to figure out the Mathurin part of this year. And so not only am I giving Mathurin the starting spot, I'm giving him way more minutes at the 2, which we'll get to the minutes distribution part of later. Because of that, like, even if he doesn't develop this year, that's still huge to know as the Pacers. And like, that's a stupid assumption. Every young player gets better and he's going to be in a new context. So I think when Chad was talking about it, he also mentioned Jarris and Furphy and even Aaron Nesmith, and like, maybe there's some like squinty Aaron Nesmith, Jarris Walker starting 5 that could happen, which would be hilarious, because he talked about ball handling and they're replacing Nembhard at the 2. Well, guess what? The best ball handler of all their wings is still Ben Mathurin, right? So there's always going to be that push and pull of the fit versus talent debate with him, but they're going to play different this year and they have to figure out what he is, how he fits, all sorts of stuff. So I think that one is easily Mathurin to me. Unless you have any other thoughts, we can move to center starter. At center, I penned in Isaiah Jackson, and I don't necessarily know that it matters. Like, if they start him or Huff, I'm like, okay. I understand the argument for both in a way that I would get it. I think Jackson is better. That's like reason 1 to start him, and he's younger. Great. That's reason 2. He's also coming off an Achilles tear. And I think you could, and pretty easily could, make the case that Jay Huff's a better fit with the starters. But Isaiah Jackson does have a good pairing with Nembhard dating back to when they played together, kind of with the second unit a bunch 2 years ago. So I think you could make the case for both. And I will actually make more of a case on this when we get to the minutes breakdown at the center spot. But I think that, especially given the contract they just gave him, Isaiah Jackson has the inside track to be the starting 5. And that makes a lot of sense with Huff being his backup, but I don't think their minutes per game will look that much different when all is said and done this year. How did you land there?
Yeah, I agree. I think, Huff was not brought here to sit. I think he's
agreed.
I think he's a good backup, but I could also see the argument that he's kind of, Turner light in some ways with the shooting and the block shots. So maybe, again, as you said, if Isaiah's slowed and they think, Huff fits well with the starters, maybe he does get crack at starting. I'm not sure the heavy minutes and the way this team likes to run. They may not run as much, obviously, but they're going to run. And, he's used to playing 11 or 12 minutes, I think it was. So, that could be something where he starts and then gets a quick sub and then kind of they mix and match from that point on. But, yeah, I would say especially that 3-year deal they gave to Jackson, they believe in him. They've believed in him since they drafted him. So, again, if he's healthy, I think he's the guy. And then I also agree with you as far as the minutes. The 5 is going to be all over the place, probably on a week-to-week basis. So
Yes.
I don't think the minutes are going to be heavily favored. I don't think anybody's approaching, 30 minutes like Turner had last year.
Yeah, even the biggest James Wiseman believers, like including the Pacers, who signed him 2 years in a row, like you don't sign Isaiah Jackson to 3 years, $21 million to not play him in the rotation, and you don't trade away a pick and a swap for a guy you're not going to play. Like they traded a swap for Thomas Bryant, and they needed him to play last year. So I think it's clear by their actions who they expect their rotation guys to be, but the minutes part specifically is not quite as clear cut, and maybe we'll talk about Toppin at the 5 as this show progresses. But I agree, it'll be when healthy, those two. The thing about center that'll be different than every other position because of the Achilles things is like on back-to-backs, is it like Jackson plays one and Wiseman plays the other and Huff plays both? Like maybe that's how they break that out. And obviously Tony Bradley is still on the team and like was fine in the playoffs. I don't think that they are considering him for a rotation spot, but he keeps getting brought up. Everybody, quick breaks. We can talk about 5-Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this zone's a hole-in-one for you and your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. For me, golf's all about the memories with my friends, ridiculous bets, crazy wagers on every hole, crazy shots, the moments. That's what makes golf fun. It's good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the beverage card. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use the promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% of your order. How about that? This offer is valid through September 30th on one order. Can't be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders, but whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Okay, let's get to actual specific minutes. Easy position. Let's start. Let's just go 1 through 5 in order. I, at point guard, for my 2 heaviest minutes players, one is a point guard, I did 32 minutes for Andrew Nembhard and 16 minutes for TJ McConnell. Should I have considered anything else there, or is that one easy peasy?
That one seems easy. I think this year it could just be a straight, platoon or whatever you want to call it. Just like I don't know that they'll play much together. So it could straight up be Nembhard is in and then McConnell's in. And that's just kind of how it goes. And I think Nembhard might average the most minutes of any player this year.
I agree.
I'm going to say either 1 or 2 for that. So yeah, I mean, maybe Jones finds a few minutes at the 1, or they want to see what they have there a little bit. But I think it's going to be more of a straight swap of the point guard spot than what we're used to seeing.
That's an interesting position because, and Chad was all over this, like if they are asking Nembhard to do what he did last year on defense and be the lead ball handler, like that is exhausting. That is a very demanding 32 minutes. But at the same time, like, I'm not saying they can't win anything this year, but if their ceiling is much lower without Haliburton, like what do you really want to put on TJ McConnell? Like you don't want to blast his minutes up either. So that would be the argument for like a sprinkle of Quentin Jackson, a sprinkle of Cam Jones or whatever at that spot. But I'm with you. I think it's pretty straightforward. And they kind of need to, like, if they have a glut of any position, it's like the wing guard spot. So like play those guys more often and figure out what they are. And just, you know what Nembhard is. He can get better. You definitely know what McConnell is. Like that's the easiest position to me. At the 2, I did my penned-in starter Bennedict Mathurin for 30 minutes and 18 minutes of Ben Shepherd, although obviously like what we're actually saying, 2 and 3 are pretty interchangeable with the Pacers. Like those guys could play together. The guys we'll get to at the 3 could play together. Like these guys could all be out there interchangeably, but like that makes good sense for both of those guys, no matter who they're playing with, is that they play about that number of minutes. Do you agree with that one too?
Yeah, I'm pretty close to that. I think Mathurin, when I looked, he actually played more minutes per game than I even thought this past year, just because of how it kind of tapered off at the end, or there were some moments where he didn't play as much. But, obviously if he's given that starting 2 role, I think they're going to kind of give him the keys and play. See, I'd probably put him as I'd say maybe the third most minutes of the team. So yeah, somewhere in the 30, 31 range. And then thing with Shepherd is he doesn't like, I'm not sure he has the ceiling that some of these other guys have. I think he's got a great floor. They kind of know what to expect. I'm not sure how much development is left in there. I think he's like a solid rotational player, but at some point, do they want to, Carlisle loves him. He loves what he brings. So I think he's going to get quite a few minutes. But at some point, do they also look a little bit with that one eye on the future and some of these guys with maybe a higher ceiling, do they give them more of a crack at the backup 2 or 3?
I agree that he would be the guy that would be chopped off in this case for some of those higher ceiling potential players. We've seen how Carlisle feels about Shepherd, and my growing castle on Shepherd Island that is taking over all the newly vacated homes is ready to keep growing. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, it's so interesting people talk about his ceiling because like 3-and-D players are super valuable. Like that's a high ceiling. It's just that it's 2 skills. Like it's not that's what people mean by that. So I think he will obviously be in their opening night rotation, I would say, but we'll talk about him in the third segment, certainly. At the 3, I have my second highest minutes player. Surprise, it's not Pascal Siakam, everybody. It's actually tied with Nembhard here. I did 32 minutes of Aaron Nesmith and 16 minutes of Jarris Walker, which at first glance, I was like, man, should I have put more Jarris in there? Like, he's actually one of their probably most 3 important players this season. But like, what are you taking away Nesmith minutes for? I guess if you're like actively not trying to win, you would do that. But they are going to try to win what they have. So that's just where I landed there. They clearly want Jarris to develop at the 3. How did you feel? How do you feel about that? And again, those guys could play 2. They might slide up to 4 at some point. But like, that's just those general minutes at that position is where I landed for those 2.
Yeah, that's another, to me, it goes back to, will they play small a little bit more? Will there be some Obi at the 5, which would open up a handful of minutes more maybe for Walker? I think Walker, it'd probably be wise if he gets close to, 20 or more if he's playing well, because I think it's just a really important year for him to see what they have. So I think between the 3 and the 4, I could see Walker eclipsing the 20-minute mark, but Nesmith, I think I had him, about 4th in minutes, but still pretty close to the other guys. I mean, it's not going to be a huge discrepancy there, but he'll definitely get the bulk of the minutes, and we'll see how he does without Haliburton. I think he's still going to be a solid player, but we'll see how that goes.
Play Nesmith in some goofy situations, man. Put him at the 2, put him at the 4. I don't care. Just like see what you can do with this without Turner, without Haliburton. Figure it out. Maybe there's some other ways you could optimize him or make him a more versatile player for future situations. That's a way to play Jarris more. Obi's minutes sliding up or down, which we'll talk about him. He will be in a big focus here in a second. Could be the way to play him more. And obviously there's another guy that people want to see play, but those 2, like Nesmith is like Nembhard, where he's good now and is young. So like no matter what eye you have on the team, I mean, I guess Nesmith's not young anymore. What is he, 26? But like young enough that he has several more prime years. Like if your eye is on winning now or development, he's playing a lot, right? He's in that Mathurin and Nembhard kind of group. So that's why I put his minutes so high. But Jarris is also in that group, right? That's what I said at the beginning. Like even if your eye's on development, Jarris Walker's a good player. Like you're not like actively losing games by playing him more. And they need to really need to figure out what he is this year. So that was kind of my biggest thing I walked away from, is moving from 3 to 4, is I put Nembhard and Nesmith with more minutes than Siakam. And that might seem weird for a team that has stated they're trying to win, but as we've seen, and as you keep bringing up last year, which I think is smart, that like, they don't ever hammer Siakam's minutes. Like they really, really, really build him up until the postseason. And obviously their postseason goals or their postseason outlook will look a lot different this year, but he was like 48th in the NBA in minutes per game last season. Like and for an all-star, that's so unusual. I think he was bottom 2 or 3 in minutes per game among all-stars last year. I wrote that story before the season ended, so I don't know where it landed, but it was close to that, right? That's clearly intentional, right? And part of that is that thinking, like they're very long-term focused with their minutes and things like that. The other part is that his backup is good in Obi Toppin, and Obi's the first guy that I'm going to have at 2 different positions on this depth chart. But for power forward specifically, I did 30 minutes for Siakam and 18 for Toppin. Don't think that's my final number for Toppin. Just for now, that's where I landed. But could that go differently for you? Where did you land on that one? And Jarris could steal some minutes at that spot too.
Yeah, I was thinking, Siakam. I wrote down in my notes one of the things that I would be most mindful of if I'm the Pacers coming into this year is to not run Siakam into the ground. And they really haven't before, but the temptation will be there for a team that's still trying to compete. He's your clear number one guy. They're going to turn to him, to lead in scoring and lead in so many ways. But they have got to save his legs. They got to find a way to not burn this guy out. I mean, they just played into late July, so it's already going to be kind of interesting to see how that goes. But if they're just running him into the ground, that's not going to go well for the following year, which everybody fully believes is much more of the year of having a chance for a deep run again. So I would say definitely do not think he should be playing more minutes. And I think again a lot of fans would look at that and say he's your number one guy, though you got to play him. But there's enough depth here, and I would be very mindful, very careful of those minutes. But I would say around last year, maybe even a little bit less.
I share that take with you, and I think that was actually my biggest one takeaway from this exercise. Is oh man, that makes a lot of sense. It's going to be weird that he is clearly their best player, the guy they'll turn to in the clutch. Every time they're in a close game, they're going to have him on the floor, all this stuff, and he should probably be third or fourth in minutes. Yep. It's a totally reasonable place to land because if anything happens or next year his legs are jello-ier, or he just gets hurt, if he gets, God forbid, a major injury this year, they're in a lot of trouble, right? They cannot have that happen. So that is one way Toppin could play more than I thought, is if they even subtract more from Siakam's plate and give it to Toppin, and then Jarris could play the 4 or whatever. But that I agree with you is how kind of I would be approaching this with Pascal, and maybe they want to see him at some 5 or Pascal at the 3, get some versatility going. But just any way to give him some more learning experiences, but also limit his minutes, I think would be smart. That takes me to center. We talked about this a little bit, but here's how I landed on this to make it nice and easy. 20 minutes for Isaiah Jackson, 20 minutes for Jay Huff, and 8 minutes of Obi at the 5, because I think if their actual best 5 to close games will be Siakam, Toppin in the front court, it keeps those other 2 guys at the same number, because I don't think it really matters who plays more or less. But Jackson starting there. Did you just do the 2 guys? How did you land there?
I kind of thought of in 2 ways. If it's 2 guys, I was thinking maybe 27 and 21.
Sure.
Jackson at 27. But you mentioned the back-to-backs. There's going to be a lot of scenarios where it's just, day to day, who's healthy, what's the matchup. They want to play small. Wiseman is a guy that, we kind of think he's third string coming in, but if he could come in and complicate things, I think the Pacers would love that. If he's healthy and unleashing some of that talent, and it's what do we do now? That's going to be a good problem to have. But if it's 2 of them, 27, 21-ish, if it's 3, especially with Jackson's foul issues at times, maybe it's more 23, 24. Maybe Huff is in the 15, 18 range, and then handful of minutes for others.
Yeah, and if Toppin's getting 8 minutes there, that's a chance to play Jarris Moore at a different spot, or play whoever of these young wings that they have to solve the future of, or play a different guy that we haven't mentioned at all yet. And Wiseman will certainly, assuming no injuries for the Achilles guys, which you never know, he will certainly play. Even beyond that, Isaiah Jackson is coming off an Achilles tear. Center gets hurt more than any position, right? They're just big and they bump, and he's going to play. But I would say in their entering the season core 10, that'd be the guy, or that'd be the guys that I would expect to play. The other part of this is that some teams play 11 or 12. They just can't. If you hear them Pacers say, maybe we'll play 11, they won't. It's hard. It's impossible. It doesn't let anyone get any rhythm. The 11th guy's playing 8 minutes and they suck, and it's impossible. It's not a good development context. The season that they'll have will allow somebody will get hurt. They'll be able to play everyone that they need to when they need to. I wouldn't worry about that, but I can't go beyond 10, and no serious team. If you play 11 or 12, it's because you're going to win 20 games, and you need the guys to play minutes, not actually try to win. So that's why I limited it to 10. If you want to try to build out an 11-man rotation that gives everybody the same amount of flow and time every game, be my guest. Good luck. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. And again, game-to-game stuff. So when they're all healthy, you got some guys who are available, for foul trouble and other scenarios. But my question too for this year is, who has a small ailment? They played even safer this year in that scenario. But the beauty of an 82-game schedule, sometimes the blessing and the curse of it, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for this entire roster. So whatever happens opening night in the first month, it could be completely different. Sounds like the Pacers will also be lurking in the trade rumors. So if something like that happens, then you can throw this whole podcast out. We'll have to redo it for a new rotation.
Oh, we'll do it again. Don't worry.
Yeah, but that's something to keep in mind as well. But yeah, I think they got to go with 10 and on a given night, but those 10 could look different from night to night.
Turns out when you have all your picks and lots of interesting young players at kind of not crossroadsy parts of their career, although in Mathurin's case, definitely, but like approaching that, yeah, you might be a team that is lurking in the trade market. So we talked about Wiseman a little bit. I think the guy that people will be like, wait, they haven't said his name yet is Furphy, certainly. Of those back 5 guys that we haven't mentioned, that's Wiseman. They can't play another center even. So Tony Bradley, Cam Jones, we kind of talked about a point guard. That's probably like a later season project thing. Furphy, and I'm actually forgetting who the fifth player that I haven't said yet is. That's alarming that I can't remember. But Furphy's the guy that people will say the most about. Oh, Haliburton, obviously he's not playing. So like they've mentioned his name and rotation in the same sentence many times. And I think personally entering the season, it's a little like Jarris last year, where he is the guy that like if a 2 gets hurt, someone slides down to the 2. And Furphy's playing, or he could even play the 2, I guess. Why not? If a 3 gets hurt, you throw him in. If a 4 gets hurt, you throw Furphy in there. If a 5 gets hurt, move top and up, throw Furphy in there. Like there will be many chances for him to play. I don't think naturally he's in their top 10, and nobody in the top 10 is either old enough or bad enough for me to just be like, yep, chop them off. I think if they had to, if they said we are demanding opening night for a few minutes, the guy they would look at getting rid of out of the rotation would be Ben Shepherd. But I just think he'll be guy 11 on opening night personally. But there will be plenty of chances, I think, for him to get out there. Does that make sense? Would you be trying to find minutes for him? Would you be trying to cut somebody else out? Is there a different way to approach this?
I think you nailed it. I would say Shepherd or Walker, depending on certain things. Obviously, if it's up to me, I'm playing Walker as much as I can to see.
Well, here's the thing. I would say if you were playing Johnny Furphy over Jarris Walker, you should be trying to trade Jarris Walker right now, like today. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking for, kind of this coaching staff. I do think that, camp and the handful of preseason games, like if Furphy comes in and is blowing people away, then, maybe he forces their hand. I also think even if he is in that role, the Jarris Walker kind of like looking for that opportunity and he gets a handful of minutes here and there. Guy goes out, he's in the rotation. If he takes it and runs with it, then it's a different situation. Jarris Walker didn't always do that. He would occasionally play well and then occasionally, forget how to play ball for a few minutes. So if Furphy is as good as what some people think that he is and is going to be, then he could take either one of those opportunities and run with it and become a mainstay after that point. But I agree that he may not be your initial top 10 unless he forces that issue.
Walker was honestly fine last year. He just never did what you said. He never was so awesome or took it around to the point they were like, we have to keep playing you, right? There was certainly a time in March when Ben Shepherd couldn't make anything, where it's like, yeah, they should play Jarris over Ben Shepherd, but that didn't last long enough for it to be a thing. And so if Furphy plays, then it's so good that it's like, oh man, he has to keep playing. Yeah, Shepherd and Walker will be the 2 guys, I think, rightly, that everybody points at as, well, their minutes have to go or be changing around because and even changing around doesn't make sense. Like we said, playing 11 is impossible. So he'll have to earn it, right? And on one hand, I think it's right that they will, make everybody earn their minutes. But like last year going into camp, you were there, right? I asked Tyrese, hey, who's impressed you this year going to camp? He's like, Ben Shepherd's been balling, right? Like that dude earns his, they love that guy. Like I think he will certainly have the inside track to a rotation spot over Furphy, and they need to play Walker. Like they just have to. They've been given a chance with a departing player and an injured other player that like Jarris is firmly in a spot like he's earned it with his play that he's one of their top 9 even now. But he's got to play well. Like there actually is somebody breathing on his neck now that has had flashes, like played a real game where he deserved to start the second half last year. Awesome. I would say Furphy's summer league that just happened was better than Walker's summer league last year. Like Walker was good in summer league last year. He made the all summer league team, but I thought that was kind of a little overblown. And I thought Furphy was better this year. So he is the only guy on the out that I think would have a case to knock someone off that we talked about in the top 10. Maybe Wiseman could at some point, but Bradley, no. Cam Jones, no. Haliburton, no. So I would keep an eye on Furphy, but I I don't know if there'd be any other surprise to me, even though every year there's a surprise. Neesmith 2 years ago, last year, Jarris being a 3. There's always a surprise, but I think this year it's a little harder to see that surprise given their kind of like conflicting need to play young guys and winning goals.
A luxury for Pacer fans to think, though, that when you lose 2 starters, you come into this year and you've got, Furphy, Wiseman, Jones is kind of 11, 12, 13 in whatever order. To still think like not much, you're not adding anything, but you still have the potential for depth. And especially in a year where you're trying to figure out what you have and what sticks, they're going to keep their eyes open for guys they could bring in. But right now they probably feel pretty good about the depth they have as far as, trying to figure some things out. So
totally agree. I think Furphy will certainly play more than last year. How much more in terms of minutes we'll see? He played 50 games, but maybe his games is up there, but his minutes will certainly be more. Fun year for the Boom. A lot of these guys are going to be playing. A lot of development's going to be happening. If a trade happens, I'm calling Tyler again and saying, we have to do this a second time, but I think for now, we've got it down. So my final totals, I don't know if you wrote it down like this. My final totals were Nembhard at 32 minutes, Neesmith at 32 minutes, Siakam and Mathurin both at 30 minutes, Toppin at 26, Jackson and Huff at 20, Shepherd at 18, Walker and McConnell at 16. I think that is a default. This makes sense kind of rotation for the Pacers.
Yeah, I didn't always have exact minutes, but I had Nembhard with the most, Siakam with a little bit more than Mathurin, and then Neesmith, Toppin, Jackson, Walker, McConnell, Shepherd, Huff, and then Furphy and Wiseman.
Let's go. If you disagree with us, send all comments to @TylerSmith_ISL on Twitter. I'm just kidding. Comment down below. Tweet at me as well. Tyler, where can people find you beyond that place that I just said and your coverage of the Pacers and, as my hat suggests, the Hoosiers?
Hoosiers, yeah. That'll be an interesting year as well. So IndySportsLegends.com, but most stuff on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it.
The greatest place. Kurt Signetti is making fun of the SEC. We're so back. We are so back. Thank you guys so much for listening today. This is probably coming out on a Monday now because Taylor Peter has been signed. So tomorrow we'll see. I have not planned next week's schedule yet. So I promise there'll be some fun Pacer stuff coming this week. Thank you all so much for listening. Give Tyler a follow. Read all the things he has to say. We'll see you very soon.